I've lived my life in constant motion, traveling back and forth across town to split time between my mom and dad, crossing state lines to visit family, from home to school to the pool and back home again every day, to my grandma's each evening when she was sick, to a new city each weekend to compete. It never stops. But in that time, I got really good at doing one thing: observing. Seeing people and looking deeper than the surface, their views, their feelings, their religion. I grew up in a small town in rural Oregon called McMinnville. In the early years of my life, I went to a church called Sunrise with my mom and brother, but we stopped going when life got busy. Later on, someone introduced a youth group to me called Young Life, so in 6th grade I started going up to a barn at Fox Ridge Ranch every Monday at 7:27 p.m. for youth group. Once I started high school, I had this sort of epiphany. I had been raised in Christianity. It's all I had ever known, and it's all that I was ever taught. There was never another option presented to me. That's when I realized that I didn't believe any of it. Instead, I was only going to that barn every Monday to have fun with my friends. This was also when I realized that the only religion I had truly ever been exposed to was Christianity. All I've ever seen around my town were Christian churches, and as far as I know, most of my friends have either been Christian or not religious at all. I only knew one Jewish person, but even then, he didn't really identify with the religion. He was only considered Jewish because his parents were. Otherwise, the only really unique religious aspect of this town that I've noticed is the amount of Mormons who live here. Missionaries walk the streets like kids on their way to school. They're everywhere. I was driving through town and I saw two walking along, so I decided to jump out of the car and ask them what they felt was the most important part of their religion. This is what they said.
We're missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're here in McMinnville, Oregon to teach and tell people about Jesus Christ.
We love to share about Jesus Christ because we know that by listening to his words, we can come closer to him and have peace in our lives, and that's something we want to share with everybody around.
Especially this time of year, right, with Christmas coming up, it's so important that we keep our focus on Jesus Christ, because he is such a vital and important, that he can play in all of our lives, and he can help each and every one of us. Jesus Christ is the Jehovah of the Old Testament and the Messiah of the New. We know that he lives, that he died for us, and was resurrected on the third day. We know that through him, we can all live again. We can all become perfected like him.
To say the least, this town isn't really diverse in any way. It's very white, very Christian. We have dozens of churches, yet no synagogues, no mosques, no Buddhist temples, nothing of the sort. The only other buildings closest to being even a tad bit spiritual here are two little yoga studios that you wouldn't see if you weren't looking. Our lack of diversity even shows in the way we talk, at least in the way the high schoolers talk. People are made fun of here no matter what their religion is. If they're Christian and go to a youth group, they're taunted for it and told that they're part of a cult. The Jewish friend I had was constantly made fun of too, despite the fact that he didn't really practice the religion. With almost everything he said or did, someone would laugh and bring up his Jewish roots. After high school, I moved to California in order to attend Cal Poly. Going in, I knew that California would be much different, but I didn't realize how much it would open my eyes to new religious perspectives as well. Just in the first few days, I met a Hindu and several Jewish people. It didn't take long for me to realize that religion is far more prevalent and diverse here. People seem so open and ready to learn about other religions with so much less judgment than they do where I'm from. There are missions and mission bells everywhere, but before moving, I didn't even know what that meant. Living on campus also meant that I got thrown into an apartment with 2 crazy roommates who have become some of my best friends. We have completely different cultural and religious backgrounds. Jessica is Filipino and Catholic, and Ella is an Israeli Jew. But I've learned so much from them. Ella taught me more about Judaism in 2.5 months than I have ever learned in 18 years. I watched her celebrate holidays that I never knew existed. I learned how fasting works and what the purpose of it is. I learned what kosher really means. She taught me valuable things about her religion that I wouldn't have known otherwise. On top of that, there are religious aspects of California that I never knew existed. I didn't know there were religious traditions that started here, and I surely didn't know that there was one called Halcyon right next to us in Arroyo Grande. There's even a religious association with a tea that was invented right here at Cal Poly. Each can of yerba mate gives a brief history of its culture, bringing up the goddess of mate, whose name is Yari.
Wait, are we about to fly right now? Wait, Titanic moment.
California is so much more diverse, unique, accepting, and understanding than anywhere else I've ever known. Even my hometown. There's so much beauty in that. I've only been here for 2.5 months so far, but I've seen enough to recognize that, and I think I might just stay.